everybody, welcome back to my spare bedroom. This is Renee. Today we're going to do a little bit of core strengthening. The exercises I show you today are my favorites. They're my go-tos, the exercises that I usually give people first when we're just getting back into core strengthening. Remember, if you haven't been doing core strength at home or with your therapist, please check in with your therapist before you try these exercises. There are times where we're not focused on core strength or activation. We might be trying to relax muscles or downtrain muscles. So check in with your therapist before starting these if you haven't been doing core strength. I like these exercises because they're done laying down. It keeps compensation to a minimum. Anything done on an unsteady surface requires some core activation. And we also get to keep intra-abdominal pressure low. That's a big deal when you're dealing with people with pelvic floor muscle dysfunction. So these are just my favorite go-tos. One thing I need you to have is a foam roller. This is a foam roller. It's 36 inches long, 6 inches in diameter, 36 by 6. This is a low density foam roller. That means that it's got just a little give to it. If you've got a foam roller at home that is black, or if it has a very shiny finish to it, those are not the right foam rollers for this exercise. You need a low density foam roller, 36 by 6. They're usually red, white, or blue for some reason. Also, if you have a foam roller that is short or is cut in half, those aren't gonna work either. You need a full 36 by 6 low density foam roller. I'm gonna show you some upper body exercises first. I'll do them twice, once with my legs hip width apart, which is easy, once with my legs narrow or close together, that's hard. Then I'll show you some lower body exercises, and I'll give you tips and tricks throughout to make it a little bit easier or harder on yourself. One thing I need you to be sure of, I need you to be sure that you're able to lay vertically on a foam roller for 5 to 10 minutes. If your body doesn't like that, if you have any laxity at the sacrum, if you put pressure on that sacrum for 5 or 10 minutes, you might be really sore after doing these exercises. So if you haven't been laying on a foam roller, test your body, see if you can tolerate laying on a foam roller first. Otherwise, let's head over to the mat. So I'm going to just set my mat down. I'm going to be facing away from you so you can see what I'm doing. There's no pretty way to get on this roller. You need your hips on the roll and you need your head on the roll. So if I'm hanging off, this is not going to work. So right now my hips are supported, my head is supported. This is what I want. My hips are about, or my legs are about hip width apart. This gives me a base of support, so my legs are supporting me right now. It's not too hard for me to stay on this roller with my legs this far apart. Let's start with the upper body exercises. This one I call the toy soldier. One arm stays up, one arm taps the mat. I'll do that 5 times on each side. I usually ask people to do 5 to 10 reps on each side. Again, it's not too hard for me right now because my legs are nice and wide. My legs are doing a lot of the work for me. Then I'm going to turn this into a swim. One arm goes up while one arm goes down. Notice that I'm not just racing through this. That's not doing anything. Take your time. The slower you go, the more control you need to have, and that's what I'm looking for in these exercises. Good. Pause at the top. Arms move into chest press. You do not have to tap the floor with the elbows. Just take the elbows in line with the body. I'll do this 5 times. 5 to 10 is what I ask most people to do. Good. Pause at the top. Alternate arms. One arm into chest press. This requires rotational stability. It's harder than it looks. So once you get good at it, it's a good party trick because people will be like, oh, that's easy. but actually it's not so easy. Take both arms into chest press. Alternate, one arm comes high to the sky. So we're using a lever here. This is a short lever. My arm is bent, so my body has to compensate or I would tip off to the side. Good. Both arms back to the top. The letter T. I'm just going to open up both arms wide, parallel with the body, and then close. Open and close 5 to 10 times. We'll start with both arms together. You can guess what's coming next. Pause at the top. One arm opens into the T, and then the other. Again, we're using levers. This time, this is a long lever. My arm is fully extended. My core has to compensate for that long lever taking weight far away from my body. One more time. Pause at the top. Take both arms into the letter T. One arm comes back to center and then return to T, then the other. Alternate arms. We're compensating for the long lever, which has taken the weight of our arm away from our body, away from our center of gravity. Make sure that you're breathing. Make sure that you've got a nice, slow, steady pace. One more time on each side. Very good. Both arms reach high to the sky. Last one for arms, big circles. Both arms together. Sweep up and around. You do not have to sweep the floor. Size is up to you. I just want both arms making big circles together. Five to 10 times. We'll do one more. Pause at the top. One arm circles. One arm makes a circle, then the other. Alternating arms. Direction is up to you too. Mix it up. This one just requires motion in all directions, in all the planes. And that's what I'm looking for. Good. Take the arms open to the letter T, and again, big circles, one arm. Compensating for the weight of the arm being away from the body. I changed directions with my circles. Doesn't really matter. It's the motion that matters, not the direction. One more circle on each side. Very good. Bringing the hands back to center. Set the hands back on the mat. Let's move into narrow legs. So you can take this in stages. So you could just do narrow legs. Maybe your feet are about 2 inches apart. I'm going to take my feet all the way together. My knees are together, my thighs are together. This is hard work for me to stay on the roll. You might see me wobbling a little bit. Wobbling is okay. That's my muscles figuring out what do I need to do to stay on this unsteady surface. The foam roller is an unsteady surface. Anytime you're on an unsteady surface, your core muscles have to work. If I don't engage my muscles, I'm going to fall to one side or the other. So this is called dynamic stability on an unsteady surface. Let's do the same arm exercises again. Remember, you can take this in stages. If it's too tough with your legs together, take them just a short distance apart. Hands reach high. Let's start with the toy soldier. One arm taps the floor, then the other. This is hard work. You'll see me wobble. I'm not ashamed. It's harder than it looks. One more time. Good. Taking the arms into the swim. One arm goes up while the other goes down. Take your time. Slow and controlled movement requires more muscle activity. Make sure that your feet are relaxed. You might feel like you want to just grip into the floor with your toes. I can tell you your toes can't help you do this exercise. It's your core muscles. It's your transverse abdominis, your multifidi, your pelvic floor muscles. They're the ones keeping you on the roll. Pause with the hands high. Let's move into chest press. Both arms together. Relax those feet. Make sure that you keep breathing throughout the exercise. Pause at the top. Here we go, rotational stability. One arm at a time. Short lever. You can see me wobble. This is tough for me. One more time, each side. Good. Take both arms into chest press. One arm comes high, then the other. Take it slow and controlled. Take your time. Good. We'll do one more time on each side. Oh, I lost my balance for a second. Hands come back to center. Let's do the letter T, both arms together. Doing both arms together is usually easier for most people. When both sides are working equally, the core knows what to do. That's not most real life activity. Even just walking is an asymmetrical activity. So that is why we practice with single arm activities. Good. Taking one arm out into the T and back to center. I might get a little quiet because I'm concentrating on staying on the foam roll. You can see my left side needs a little work. When I'm moving my left arm, it's the right side of my body that stabilizes me. When I move my right arm, it's the left side. So that tells me I've got a little work to do for stability on the right. Same exercise, alternating arms, starting in the wide T. Taking it slow and controlled. Letting your feet relax. Don't grip the floor with your feet. Make sure that you're breathing, taking normal breaths, not belly breaths. If you try to do belly breaths during core work, your core is not going to be helping you very much. We'll talk more about breath in the future, but you actually want to be breathing with your rib cage during these exercises. Let's do some big circles. Both arms together. Good. Pause at the top. Let's do single arm circles. One arm moves through the circle, then the other. We'll do 5 circles on each side. We're moving through all the planes. Lost it. Let's do one more circle on each side. Good work. We've got one to go, and that's big circles with the arms starting in the T position. One more time on each side. Very good. So another reason why I like these exercises, if you lose your balance, that's pretty much the worst thing that can happen is you'll bump your elbow on the floor. Please never take your feet off the floor and your hands off the floor at the same time. That's an accident waiting to happen. Either your hands are on the floor or at least one foot is on the floor. That's the only time I've ever heard anyone hurt themselves with these exercises. They thought they were supposed to pick up all four extremities at the same time. I never want you to do that. Let's move on to lower body. Legs are hip width apart. During the lower body exercises, I always want your legs hip width apart. That's how we use our legs. So keep them right out from the hips. We'll start with just a little rock out and in. Rock out, rock in. If you go too far with your rock, I'm going to fall off the roll. So this is a small rock, maybe about 30 degrees. I've got all 10 fingertips on the floor. Let's go down to just maybe 2 fingertips on the floor. And let's try no fingertips. Just trying to stay on the foam roller while we dynamically move our legs. Good. Fingertips go back to the floor. Next one I call can-can dancer. It's kicking from the knees out. So when you do this one, the knee extends. That's all we're doing, extending from the knee. It's not a lift and kick, it's just a kick. So keep your leg down. We're going to get into hip flexion in the next one. So knee extension only. Try it a few times with all fingertips on the floor. Let's go down to 2 fingertips on the floor. Keep the weight light. If you're pressing all your weight down into your fingers because you need the stability, then go back to 10. And if you can, lift the fingers. Trying to kick one leg out from the knees. Make sure that when you set your foot down, it's gentle. It's not a stomp. That tells me that you're not very stable. One more time on each side. Good. All 10 fingers back to the floor. Last one for the lower body is a mini march. Just like you're walking. This is hip flexion. What I see a lot is people really picking this leg up. I don't need that. I just need you to pick your foot up off the floor. Let's go down to a couple fingertips. And let's try no fingertips. I want the hips to stay pretty level, and I want the legs to stay out from the hips. If I start to see this, or a lot of rocking and rolling, that's not a stable pelvis. So if that's the case, give yourself some support again. I'm rocking a little bit. If you wanted to make it a little harder on yourself, the other idea I have for you would be for the upper body. You could bring your legs back to center, lift one leg off the roll, and go back through the upper body exercises with one leg for support. I'm not here yet. I would fall right off this roll. But that's one thing you can do. Single leg, add in the arms. If you are on a mat or carpet, it's probably going to be a little easier than being on a hard floor. The mats absorb a little bit of the rolling. So if you're on a hard floor versus a mat or carpet, it might be a little harder. Otherwise, there's no pretty way to get off the roll either. So that's my basic foam roller core exercise. Again, it's up to you, but if you haven't been doing core exercise, please contact your therapist before you try it. And try laying on it before you try exercising on it. I have had one person who had a lot of pain. They felt good during the exercise, but the next day it had done something around the sacrum with that constant pressure pushing on it for 10-15 minutes. So just make sure that you can tolerate the roller before you try exercising on the roller. Otherwise, we're here for questions, and if you need us, get in touch. Thank you.